Well, hello everyone. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today to talk to you about the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety. It's really a pleasure to be a part of the Work Zone virtual conference, and this is really because Work Zone safety is a key part of road safety in the United States and worldwide, and it's really an important part of the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety. As more and more countries are building more and more roads, more and more people will be traveling on those roads, work zone safety will become even a more important part of our efforts to keep everyone safe on the roads. Most of you already know a great deal about work zone safety. You'll probably be hearing about it more from other speakers, things such as speed control and good regulations and visibility. So instead of talking about the technical specifics about work zone safety, what I'd like to talk to you about today and what I'd like for us to come away from is to leave this virtual conference knowing what an important part work zone safety plays in road safety worldwide, and the important part that work zone safety plays in the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety. So just to give you a little bit of background, my philanthropy, I work for the FIA Foundation, and it's an international philanthropy that is focused on bringing worldwide attention and public and political awareness to road safety. We initiated the Make Roads Safe campaign really to make road safety the international priority that it should be on the scale of other public health threats such as HIV/AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and other threats to our well-being. So many of you probably know and recognize very well the North American chairman of the Make Roads Safe campaign, and that's former Secretary of Transportation Norman Mineta. We also appreciate the support of Secretary LaHood, who's pictured here on this slide, with the youth, our youth supporters with the National Organizations for Youth Safety. So this is a very exciting time for safety worldwide, because for the first time, the United Nations has recognized road safety as an international priority, a true international priority on the scale of things such as HIV/AIDS. With this type of designation, we can begin promoting traffic-related deaths and injuries, and they can begin receiving the attention that they deserve as a threat to our health and our well-being. So while it's exciting, it's also a very troubling time because of the rapid increase in deaths and injuries on our roads. In 2002, as you see from this graph, traffic crashes were the 10th leading cause of death worldwide. And if you compare crashes to other common health epidemics, such as HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, epidemics that already have global attention, you'll see that these are on the same scale. Traffic crashes are an epidemic, and by 2030, as you can see from this chart, traffic crashes will actually surpass HIV/AIDS as a cause of death, and it will be the 5th leading cause of death worldwide. So this is how we compare to other countries in the G20, which is a vast improvement thanks to a lot of the work that you do to make our roads safe. And this is an improvement over previous decades, but of course we can do better. And as you can see from all the countries listed on this graph, we're really truly in it all together. And no matter what country we hail from, there's more that we can do to save lives. So currently, if you look at the statistics, there are nearly 1.3 million deaths per year on the world's roads. And in addition to that, we have more than 50 million serious incapacitating injuries. So it's really the #1 cause of death for young people from the age of 10 to 25. So you can see it has a serious effect both in the US and in other countries. So the World Health Organization's recent estimates show that by the year 2030, traffic-related deaths and injuries will be that 5th leading cause of death. So if you think about it in another way, in 20 years, just 20 more years, more people will die on the roads than will die of HIV/AIDS. So as all of you know more than anyone, because of the rapidly growing economies, more roads are being built in the BRIC and other fast-growing countries. The vehicle market from emerging economies is going to far surpass that of those in current developed countries. And because of that, people will be traveling more roads will be built, there will be more people traveling both by cars and by other modes of transportation. So we'll need to have the vehicle technologies and the safe roads built that all of you are working to build every day. So we just need to make sure that the progress that we're making in moving people doesn't come at the price of lives lost through either work zone deaths or other types of road deaths. So Harvard did some projections for us, and it's estimated that in the next 10 years, if we do absolutely nothing at all, we'll lose 5 million more lives, and another 50 million will suffer those debilitating injuries. So here's another version of the Harvard slide, just for the next decade. So if we start implementing the many interventions that we already know, such as building safer roads and cars, passing good laws and policies, and promoting stronger education and enforcement, really a safe systems approach encompassing the road, the vehicle, and the user, it's projected that we can have a huge and quantifiable effect on the number of lives we saved. So we have a responsibility to do something. And if you look at this graph, you can see the little green triangle. And that little green triangle represents the 5 million lives that we have the potential of saving over the next 10 years. So that's why we petitioned for the Decade of Action for Road Safety. It all started with the Commission for Global Road Safety, which is our very own Secretary Mineta is a member, and the chairman of that is Lord Robertson, who is a former Secretary General of NATO, and his life was saved by a seatbelt many years ago when he was a young man. As a result of the 1 million signatures that were presented to the United Nations and countless other support by our strong supporters, such as ARTBA, such as ITE, AASHTO, TTI, and many of the organizations to which you belong, we were able to have the first ever cabinet-level ministerial meeting on road safety in Moscow. This had participation of 147 countries, almost more than 80 ministers of transportation and health, and with speakers such as Secretary LaHood and the Russian President, Dmitry Medvedev. And following this ministerial meeting, the UN General Assembly in New York debated road safety, and it passed a UN resolution which proclaimed the Decade of Action for Road Safety, which started in May of last year. And this had 100 countries co-sponsoring. So 100 countries' governments actually said that they believed that road safety was a priority for their governments. This led to the global plan, shown here with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and the formation of the United Nations Road Safety Collaboration. So the Decade of Action plan is really a 5-pillar plan. And of course, building safer roads, the work that you do, is an essential key element. The 5 pillars of this plan are building good management capacity and training, safer roads and mobility, safer vehicles, safer road user behavior, and post-crash response and post-crash care. So with all of those are really all parts of the equation, important parts that need to work together in order to have a truly effective decade of action. So all movements need a symbol, and here's the Decade of Action for Road Safety symbol. The yellow tag, which was launched last year with President Clinton at the Clinton Global Initiative. So if you wear this tag, you'll be in good company with President Clinton, with Mayor Bloomberg, as you see here, with international sports stars, and yes, even with Grover, who through our partnership with Sesame Street is our international Muppet ambassador for the children of the world. So right now, this is just a little piece of metal. It's just a symbol. But if you think about it, not so long ago, the red ribbon was just a little piece of cloth. The yellow bracelet was just a little piece of rubber. And through all of our work together, through all of our combined efforts towards making roads safe, we can make it a lot more. So in May of 2011, the decade was launched in 110 countries with the tag displayed everywhere from DC to Times Square, New York, to Australia, Sydney's Harbour Bridge, to Moscow, Times Square, to Trafalgar Square in London, to Nairobi, Kenya, to an event with the Mexican president, and many more, as you see here. So now, like the AIDS-HIV movement and its Global AIDS Fund, our philanthropy has started a road safety fund with the United Nations and with the World Health Organization. And in addition to our own donations as a philanthropy, we manage the Road Safety Fund 100% pro bono. So all of the donations go directly to safety projects around the world. I thought you might like to have an idea of where the FI Foundation and other contributions have gone for this first year of the Decade of Action, and to see some of the projects we've worked on with our many partners. So the purpose of the fund is really to maximize the Decade of Action for road safety so that we can have one unified place where all of the contributions can go and we can see the true contributions to the decade. So we're working on projects that may interest many of you, such as city-level road safety strategies in Brazil, safe road infrastructure assessments in 60 countries through our International Road Assessment Program, or IRAP, Share the Road Cycling and Walking initiatives, which involves building roads that include pedestrians and cyclists as a key element, child seat safety in Latin America, motorcycle helmet campaigns and helmet for kids in Vietnam and Cambodia, which is expanding to other countries, and safe routes to school, which we do in many different countries, fleet safety training in Africa and India. And one of our newest initiatives is a global new car assessment program, Global NCAP. This is with participation from NCAPs from all over the world, including our own here in the US with NHTSA and the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. As part of Global NCAP, we've helped establish Latin NCAP, which is the first such program for evaluating the safety of cars in Latin America. So these are just a few examples of our work to promote the Decade of Action for road safety. And as you can see, it's very much a combined effort. It's making sure that we have safe vehicles to travel on the roads, making sure that the roads themselves are safe for all types of users, from pedestrians to cyclists to the vehicles themselves. And also making sure that the users themselves are aware and have the right tools to travel safely. So I suppose in conclusion, the Decade of Action does not mean changing the essentials of what you're doing. That's because all of you have already been working on building safe roads, on working on safe elements of road design for many, many years. But what it means is that now, for the first time, we have international recognition from the United Nations and really a stronger connection with our colleagues around the world. This is really a unified effort to make a difference, to change that little green triangle. That if you look back at that graph, that little green triangle represents 5 million lives and 50 million serious injuries. So you're already a part of the Decade of Action because of the work you do. And we thank you and we welcome your further participation. So I hope you'll join us, and please go to decadeofaction.org or contact me for more information. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. It's been a pleasure to be a part of the virtual conference on work zone safety, and I hope you'll join us with the Decade of Action, because really together we could save, in the next 10 years, 5 million lives. Thank you.